Have you ever seen the movie The Incredibles? Such a good film where everybody's got their own cool superpower. Well, RDS is the same way. Has superpowers of its own, high availability and load sharing. In this nugget, we're going to look at both of them. In the RDS Foundations nugget, I showed you just how easy Amazon makes it to spin up an instance of Microsoft SQL or MySQL, that's what I did in that nugget, or Oracle, or even Amazon Aura, Postgres. I mean, all these different databases, just through a few clicks of a button, they take care of all the operating system and database administration, updates, backups, etc., etc., etc. I mean, it's fantastic. One of the things that I mentioned in there is you want to do the multiple availability zone configuration. Matter of fact, Amazon's like, you're crazy if you don't do this. They're like, yes, do you want to use this? Or no, obviously, you're using this outside of production, right? So they're really wanting to enforce this. Why? That's the first thing I want to talk about. What is a multi-availability zone configuration really? I think it'll help if I first tell you what it's not, and that is load sharing. When you set up multi-AZ failover, essentially checking that yes bullet when you set up your instance, you get a pair of database servers, a master and a standby in multiple data centers that are kept together synchronously through data replication. Synchronous being the key word. That means they are exact replicas to the millisecond, right? Soon as something is written here by, we'll just say, an EC2 instance storing data in your database, it is, bam, written over there to the standby. This provides high availability and eliminates backup-caused I/O freezes. What does that mean? It means if at any point this thing dies, this thing automatically promotes itself on a read-write basis, and AWS automatically adjusts the DNS record. You might have noticed when we set up an RDS instance, hang on, let me just bail out of this wizard. The database instance is identified through a DNS name. Now, I name mine ASDF, and then you've got this nice Amazon long generated name. Well, as soon as you lose your master, essentially it's going to update that DNS record real time to point to the standby, and now you've got the standby that's taking over. That's your high availability function, but it also eliminates the backup caused I/O freezes or maintenance patches, etc., etc. You know that when you start up RDS and generate an instance, it automatically starts backups. That's just what it does. When you back up, and I said this in the fundamentals, it will cause a brief I/O freeze, just a few seconds, but again, you got a really rapid fire website. Nobody wants that hang, that delay when something's happening. I mean, we live in an era where a few seconds is like, no! So what it does, whenever you have a backup run, it runs it directly from the standby. Again, if these things are synchronous, this is the one that's running the backup, so you'll never see the impact on the master at all. Now, the primary standby replica is invisible to you, meaning this all happens automatically. You never saw when we went through and generated this in the fundamentals that hey, it's going to have these two servers and you'll reference them. No. All you see is this right here. You know it's happening behind the scenes, but Amazon never shows it to you. That's the concept of load balancing. So anytime you do anything, it's always going to be done from the standby. If you ever do a patch, or I should say Amazon does, because they do patch your server if you allow them to on a regular basis to keep it up to date, what it's going to do is essentially promote the standby to the master, patch the master, then demote it back down and patch it back, or flip it back, and then do the same thing over here. So it all is automated between these two servers. Just think of these things as just those heroic sidekicks. They always have each other back. Their superpower is that they're a clone of each other, right? They will always back each other up all the time. So multi-availability zone is not the same as an RDS read replica. If you've played in this at all when you've set up RDS, you'll see one of the things you have the option of doing down here in the instance actions is to add a read replica. So what's a read replica? Well, this is the one that's designed for the workload sharing and offloading, unlike the multi-availability zone, right? Multi-availability zone gives you that master-slave standby, but the slave essentially is good for nothing, other than backing up the master in case of a failure, being that synchronous replica all the time. The read replicas are asynchronous, meaning they may not be up to date to the millisecond, but they're going to be close, right? They're receiving replication from the master at all times, and these guys are designed for that offloading because typically a database gets a lot more reads than writes, right? I mean, think about it. Yeah, I just go to Twitter, right? I just I just set up a Twitter account. CBT Nuggets convinced me to. I'm like, wow. All these years, what have I been missing? So I'm in this Twitter world, right? What do you do most of the time on Twitter? You're like, oh, let's see what's going on. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, you're checking out, and then every now and then you're like, I'm gonna tweet. Actually, I'm gonna do this. I am recording AWS right now and using this tweet as a demo of RDS high availability. That'll be fun. What? Fun. Anyway, but that's, I mean, there's my one write to a read-write replica, and now that's being sent down to all these other read replica where my, I don't even know, 1,000 some followers are all getting that information going, what? What is he doing? So that's what the RDS read replicas are all about, and they are created from a snapshot of the read-write instance. So as soon as you say, I want to create a read replica, AWS creates a snapshot, matter of fact, it's already there, and then brings it down here to the read-only replica and builds a server from that, right? It is designed for asynchronous replication, read-only connections. It could be used as a read-only disaster recovery. Like, let's just say, right, your multi-availability zone, like a hurricane comes through the California region and takes out both data centers at the same time, right? Now what? Well, maybe you've got the read replica over in a third data center. That Twitter is still up, it's still running, but at the same time, it can't handle anybody adding new tweets, right? They can just browse the tweets that are already there. So, MySQL could promote a read replica to a write copy. So that, I mean, if you want to take it as another level of disaster recovery, you can, but that is a manual process. And by the way, Postgres doesn't support that at all. So it's one of those manual intervention kind of processes that allows you to do that. But that, you can tell my hesitation. I'm like, but that's not what it's designed for. That's the multi-availability zone. So I don't want you to take in the certification exam and be like, oh yeah, read replicas, that's a great high availability mechanism. No, no, no. That's multi-availability zone. The number of read replicas are limited by the database type. And notice I put current because, again, everything's always changing. But right now, MySQL supports 5 read replicas before it maxes out. Aura, Amazon's new one, supports 16 read replicas. So as you can see, RDS is a database of true superpowers. High availability through multi-availability zone and load sharing using read replicas. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.